will now be facing, once again, Lambros Agravanis and the Michigan State Wolverines. No, wait, not Michigan State. Michigan State has Zabin Panko, who, unfortunately, I was unable to play against him due to injury. But we're playing Lambros Agravanis and the Michigan Wolverines, who we beat before, and from what I remember, I think they have a pretty good team. As normal, our team isn't the best. Recently, they've been using Joseph Young as our starter instead of Gibson. So that's a pretty big change. That's one change between these, as Shake Mulder is who I'll be guarding, and since the first matchup, he's been averaging about 22 points. So he's pretty good. Michigan would end up winning the tip, and they would end up passing around a little bit to start out the game. Agravanis trying to get open, and he's able to get a shot inside, but that misses, and I'd be there to get the rebound. I give it to Hardaway, who just decides to pass it out. I give it to Young, who would give it into Shepard. He would fade away to try and get the shot to go, but it would miss. Brothers would be able to score on the other end, giving the first points of the game. He's been averaging a good amount of points. I end up almost losing the ball, but I'm able to recover it before it could cause anything too bad for our team. I passed it just before I was about to take the shot, as the shot I was about to take was not the best choice. I find Young, who's able to hit his first three with me playing, as that'd be my first assist of the game, and that's my first time really playing with Joseph Young, as typically I'm with Gibson. Mulder ends up taking a terrible contested fadeaway, and on the other end, I'm able to score it. I'm able to get the steal, and I try to give it to Hardaway, but the pass ends up getting stolen. Mulder ends up trying to get inside, and he does. I try to block his shot, but it ends up being a foul. He's also been averaging a decent amount of rebounds, with about 6. I give it to Hardaway, who's able to get his first shot of the game to go. Hardaway's been a good, like, maybe 8-10 point person, and he gets rebounds as well, so. I try and dribble by Mulder, and I end up getting the and one. I'm able to hit the only free throw. Lambros is able to get inside, but it's well contested, and he misses the shot. I give in to Young, and he gets his second point as a starter. I'm kind of liking having Young a little bit better, because Gibson really didn't do too much. As Agravanis gets inside, but Shepard's able to get the block. This is one thing I kind of like better, is Young's always on the fast break with me, so it's I like that a little bit more, even though Gibson was a little bit better at hitting the mid-range shot on the fast break, but I called for the screen from Shepard, and he'd get the assist to Hardaway inside. Munford would end up bringing the ball for them, and it's been a while since we've played Michigan. Typically, we only play like 2, 3, 4 teams multiple times. And this year, I haven't really looked at the schedule too much. I find Hardaway, who's open for the mid-range shot, and he actually hits it. He's actually been shooting perfect so far, which I'm surprised that he actually was able to hit the mid-range. Michigan calls a timeout as we have a 10-point lead. I know we've played Hardaway 2 times, and I don't know if we faced anyone else really 2 times. Oh yeah, right, Ohio State, but I was only there for 1 matchup. I end up fouling Lambros Agravanis, and he ends up hitting both the free throws. I try to work on Mulder, and I'm able to get the shot inside, but ends up being blocked by Mulder. But there was a foul on the shot. They'd end up subbing Mulder out, and I really didn't recognize who I'm guarding. We end up getting the steal as they tried to keep the ball, but his foot ended up being out of bounds. I call for the screen, and it works pretty well as I'm able to get inside to score the basket. Both me and Hardaway would be perfect 3 for 3. Blackburn trying to get something on Hardaway, but Hardaway is there to play some good defense, and I really like Young, having him on the fast break with me. Gibson just does the same thing, goes for the mid-range, but Young can change it up from time to time. I'm able to get Hardaway inside as Lambros tried to help with the contest, but it wasn't good enough, and Hardaway's been doing pretty good during this stretch. I already have 9 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists. Brothers would pull up and take the 3-point shot. This would miss, and once again, Young was on the fast break. This time he would hit the mid-range shot, and I'm really liking having Young with me. This move has really been working out so far. Even though it's only 1 game, it's still working out. I get the block on who I'm defending, Wilkins. I get another block as he tried to go up again. Brothers would get the ball in the corner, get the screen from Blackman, and drive baseline. He did get the easy shot inside, and we would end up calling a timeout as now it's 24-10. I'd end up getting subbed out, and I wouldn't come back until 8 minutes left in the second quarter. Our guard would be Chioza, the guy off the bench, and for some reason we had Shepard at center. But they'd still be guarded by the normal. I'm able to get in the paint, but once again I'd get blocked. I'm there to guard Mulder, and he's forced to pass it up. Brothers would have the ball, and he'd get the screen from Blackburn. Brothers tries to work on Shepard having the mismatch. He gets the shot up, but ends up missing. I end up taking a mid-range shot pretty close to the basket, and it goes. We have a 20-point lead at this point. It's kind of a blowout so far. So it seems so far that the young move was pretty good. I'm able to get out to contest Mulder's shot, and that's another miss for Michigan. I'm able to drive right by Mulder and get the easy slam, as nobody else was really there to help. I tried to get the steal on Munford, but it failed. Blackburn would give it to Brothers, and Mulder tries to get open off the screens, but it was too deep, so he ended up missing once again. They haven't scored in the last about 8 minutes, 7.5 minutes, so they really have been unable to score. Munford would have the ball and could have drove in. Chioza ends up switching on the play. Blackburn would get the ball and get the screen from Agravanis, finding Munford inside, but once again a Michigan miss. I'm able to get inside and get the shot by Agravanis. Blackburn would get the ball, and Hardaway is the guy guarding Agravanis, as for some reason he's at power forward. But on defense, Michigan would always have Blackburn guarding Hardaway. Hardaway would take the mid-range shot that was pretty contested. Of course he would miss, as he a lot of times doesn't even make the open ones. We finally figure out that it's probably better to have the people mainly at those positions to guard the guys who are typically in those positions. He ends up lobbing it up, and I just decided to catch it instead of trying to put it up. It's too risky trying to put it up. Even though we have such a big lead, I still don't want to do that and just get completely embarrassed. Also, it wasn't the best lob pass, so I decided it wasn't really worth trying to go for it. I give it to Young, as once again he's there on the fast break. I take the 3-point shot, as I had just gotten up and I ended up missing it. It's kind of I expected, since I'm not the best 3-point shooter so far. At least not the best with percentage. They end up passing the ball quite a bit, and Brothers takes the contested 3 in the corner. Shepard gets the rebound and gives it to Young. I give it to Young as he goes around me, and I was in the post at that point. I give it to Hardaway, who's being guarded by Agravanis. I decide just to go in the post and try and put up the shot and try and get it in, but it fails. Hardaway ends up getting called for the loose ball foul. Luckily, his first of the game, which kind of surprised me since he's the center, so I'm surprised he only had one with basically 1.5 quarters. They try and get someone open, and it's a lot of passing to try and find people who can get open. Agravanis had a pretty good game, having a double-double against Nebraska. I'm able to contest the shot as he's forced to put it up because of the shot clock. On the other end, I get open for 3, but once again, I miss the shot. They give it to Agravanis on the other end, and he just slams it in. I give it to Hardaway, and he ends up taking the shot, getting fouled by Agravanis. That was also Agravanis' first foul, so not really in foul trouble. Hardaway ends up missing that one. He's shooting 53%, 13 points. He missed both free throws, though, and I kind of expected that, considering he's not really known for jump shots or free throws, really. Brothers would get the ball and get the screen from Blackburn. I thought he was going to drive baseline, but he decided to take the mid-range shot. I called for the screen from Hardaway, and I gave it to him inside, and of course he'd hit that because Mulder's way smaller than Hardaway. Hardaway's able to get a big block on Mulder. I end up getting subbed out, and I wouldn't be brought in for the rest of the half. We'd have a really big lead, as it's about 60 to 38, I believe. It's been quite a blowout, and I've been liking a lot how we have Young. Nobody really has been able to get scoring. 60 to 37, and their highest scorer, at least their best performance so far, is 5 points and 5 rebounds and 1 assist from Wilkins. We have 5 blocks, but then again, they have 4 as well, so both teams have been really getting blocks. But we were able to get more points scored, as they haven't shot that well. We've shot like 60%, they shot like 30%. So we're kind of taking over this game. I would be in for the start of the second half. I'd give it up to Young and just head towards the post. I called for the screen from Shepard. Maybe that would get him open, but his defender was waiting in the paint. He fakes the shot twice and almost gets blocked by Blackburn, but he's able to get it in. That'd be our first points of the second half. Agravanis would just attack immediately, driving in and getting a pretty good layup. I give it into Shepard, and he was able to get the shot pretty easily, as his defender wasn't really paying attention. Now Shepard's a pretty big power forward from what I kind of see. Hardaway's able to contest Mulder, and that's another miss, as he hasn't shot too well in this game. I'm able to drive in on the other end and get the layup to go. It's really not been a good game for them, as I almost get the steal, but they're able to recover. Mulder would set the screen for Agravanis, and Brothers would have the ball. He'd give it into Blackburn, and Young was guarding him, but he ended up missing it. I give it all the way up to Hardaway, who's on the other end, and he hits the shot even with the contact from Agravanis. He's been shooting 88% for the game, 14 points. So he's been having a good game. I almost have his triple-double with 6 rebounds, and I already have the 10 assists, so I have a double-double. I get back to guard Mulder, and he's forced to take another shot, but Hardaway gets another emphatic block. I give it to Shepard on the other end, but he decides to pass it away. I give it to Hardaway, who's being guarded by Agravanis. I don't know why we have him at power forward, but whatever the coach thinks is best. I get the pass from Young and get the easy slam. This change to having Young in the starting lineup has really worked, so maybe that injury actually helped us figure out who is really the better guard for us at the starting position. Because I'm really liking how it's going. Brothers takes the fadeaway shot and another miss. I give it to Young, and he'd take the open mid-range shot and hit it once again. He has 11 points, and I'm really hoping that this is a permanent choice to keep him in the starting lineup. Blackburn would give it to Brothers, and he'd get the screen from Agravanis. I tried to get the block, and I really wasn't sure if I did get it. I'm able to get the dunk over Agravanis at the other end. He tried to contest it, but it wasn't enough as I just slammed it right over him. I end up leaving Mulder open, and once again, another miss. I drive in, and I end up getting fouled by Brothers. I've been shooting pretty good, shooting 11 for 15. Chioza would be our guard at the moment as Young wouldn't be in the game anymore. We have a pretty small lineup out as pretty much Shepard is our only big man. They're able to get a good shot up, and Mulder gets the offensive rebound and puts it in. I end up getting called for my third foul. He'd hit the free throw, and he still hasn't been shooting that well, but at least he made a shot finally. I give it to Shepard, who gets the shot to go inside. He's really been having a good stretch lately, and Hardaway has been as normal, 10 points, about 10 points, 10 rebounds. Varying from 8 points, like 12, to about 9 and exactly 10. Shepard is also a pretty good rebounder for us. It's pretty much there are two big men who are mainly known for being inside, so it's pretty good to have them. Most teams do have like a stretch for like Lambros Agravanis from Michigan, and I really haven't paid attention to the power forwards because I typically don't guard them. We're able to get an easy layup inside, and I really wasn't able to pay attention to see who actually had gotten it. Munford ends up getting the easy layup inside, and it would be 80 to 46. We'd have McCree, who's be our power forward, and he's not the biggest one. It ended up being out of bounds on Blackburn, and we'd be pretty low on the power rankings. The Wildcats, Northwestern would be on top, and Ohio State would be right behind them. I try and go in the post and get the shot over him, but once again, it's a miss. Agravanis was able to get the rebound, and Mulder takes the mid-range shot on the other end. Once again, it's a missed shot, and I gave it to Shepard inside. Once again, he's able to get the shot over Lambros Agravanis, and Mulder hasn't shot too well. He's only 5 for like 15. They give it to Brothers, who give it to Mulder, who gets open after I got screened by multiple people. I set the screen for Chioza, and they'd give it to McCree, who's in the post. I'm unable to get anything going, and McCree gets blocked by Agravanis. They try to get it to Agravanis on the other end, but it fails. I give it to Chioza, who ends up passing it back out to me. I find Shepard and drive around him. It ends up getting me open, and that'd be another basket for me. Blackburn would be guarded by Shepard, and he'd give it to Agravanis. They've been trying to pass the ball around, and it hasn't really worked too well. Lambros tried to set a screen, but it was unsuccessful. Agravanis takes the shot, but is pretty well contested. It's up being Michigan ball because When Shepard got the rebound, he ended up being out of bounds. Michigan's next games would be against Ohio State and Iowa. Even just scrimmages were scheduled as well. Like, they were scheduled before the year, so I don't really know which ones for other teams are like just scrimmages or games. It always depends on if you know about the team pretty well or if you're just unfamiliar with their schedule and whether it's a scrimmage or not. Also, it depends on if you really know anyone from that team. I ended up getting open and I'd hit the mid-range shot. I've been shooting pretty good for the game and I've had 10 plus points in both halves. Lambros Agravanis almost loses the ball, but he recovers it. He's forced to pass it as he had no way to dribble. Munford ends up getting left open for 3 and he would hit the shot, and Michigan hasn't really shot too well. I give it to Chioza and he would try and drive around. I'd be left wide open for 3 and I'd actually hit it. I'm typically not known to shoot that well from 3. Agravanos try and get something and he'd give it to Brothers. I'm able to get the steal and I'd be on the other end. I give it to Shepard and wasn't really sure what he was going to do with it. Chioza would have the ball and he'd take the floater. He'd actually hit it this time and it was pretty contested. They gave it to Mulder in the post. He'd get the shot to be open, but he'd miss it. I'd give it to McCree, who would take the 3 on the other end. I'd get the rebound and jump up to get the dunk. Blackburn would have the ball and he'd just try and wait for someone to get open. Chioza tried to steal the ball, but it was unsuccessful. Mulder would get open inside, but it would miss it once again. I lobbed it up to Shepard, and that would be my first lob pass in my college career. At least my first time lobbing it up. He'd end up hitting the half-court shot, as it was pretty insane how he even hit it. Hardaway's had some pretty emphatic blocks. I ended up getting the assist of the game off that lob to Shepard. They'd end up having their bench in, and I'd be with the bench in as well. As once again, I'd be with Griffin. This time I'd actually be, not Griffin, Gibson. It's been a while since I've been with Gibson. I'd also be with Grantham, who I've played with a little bit, but not too long. I'd give it to Grantham inside, and I'd also be playing with Watanbe, who'd typically be my replacement off the bench. Gibson would get the shot inside, and it would get blocked. I ended up getting subbed out, and I'd be brought back in with 4 minutes left. I don't even know who's guarding me, but I'd give it to Shepard. Griffin would have the ball, and he'd try and get something, but he didn't really do much. He'd give it to Costello, who'd be the person I'm guarding. I give it to Gibson, who's in the corner, and he hit the 3. Munford would almost get the ball stolen, and it ended up being our ball anyways. I was able to get the shot inside, and it ended up being an and 1. I'd also get the free throw to go, and I've been having a pretty good game. I ended up get there to help play some defense, and I give it to McCree inside. Now I really didn't know who was guarding me, and I'd try and take the layup inside over him, but it failed. I call for the screen, and it works pretty successfully as I'm able to get the shot over the pretty small defender. Page would bring up the ball for Michigan. The guy who I'm guarding is a pretty tall dude, and I think I'm guarding the power forward, but I really don't know. Once again, I'm able to score on the other end. Griffin would have the ball and give it to Costello. I'd be able to get the contest on whoever I'm defending. Still not sure, but I'm able to get once again 2 points. As this time it was an easy layup. Well, not really an easy layup, but a layup. He ends up hitting a 3, and that kind of surprised me. I'd end up trying to take the shot, but it ended up being well defended, and I missed the shot. I let him take another one, as I didn't expect him to make it once again. I'd drive on the other end and get the and 1. I really didn't care. I wanted to put up as many points as I can, as at this point this game was over. And the only other guy really on the court was Shepard, who's actually pretty decent. I ended up dunking emphatically on the defender who was waiting in the paint. We'd pretty much just blown them out, and I'd have 50 points, 10 rebounds, and 16 assists. And quite a few steals. And a few blocks as well. Let him take another 3, as I was just waiting there for the rebound. It really didn't matter too much, so might as well just let them get some. I called for the ball because I wanted to mess around and get the mismatch. Just wanted to bully him in the post. I was able to easily get it to go inside. And that was actually their guard. I got the switch. Paige would try and get open, and they just give it to Costello, who'd give it to the guy who I was guarding, who'd take a three. I just hold it for the rest of the game, and we had won 124 to 82. I had 52 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals, and 2 blocks. Hardaway had 16 points, and this game he didn't really have too many rebounds. Shepard had a double-double, 14 and 11. Young had 11, so he's been pretty good. Grantham had 8. Gibson 7, and nothing much really. One of our guys who hasn't really played this season got to play 1 minute. Who's a center, Liviu Kalmushi. And for Michigan, it was only Mulder who had any notable game. 22 points, 4 rebounds. Agravanis only had 6 points, 3 rebounds, so not a good game. He only took 8 shots, but he was 2 for 8. So, hopefully we can take this into the next game.